You're now tuning in to 13signsastrology.com. This episode is for a brother. I don't know where this brother's from, and I didn't get this brother's information. And I did want to mention this brother's name, but I don't have any of his information or anything like that. However, he wanted me to do an episode on how to actually set up an account from my perspective, and how to go about doing it, as far as a gold account, and how to set up a gold account to where it backs you when you move in the matrix, and it builds interest and gains interest with you and for you. And it's a good question because, as you guys know, I mean, this is why high-level ET groups came to this planet, just to come looking for resources like gold and silver and copper and things of that nature. So if they came looking for that resource and they came to this planet, you have to ask yourself, why wasn't this commodity available in other star constellations? If there's, if these ETs are such, they're supposed to be of such a high caliber society, why couldn't they, why don't they have gold where they're from? Like, why do they have to come all the way here and mess with us, essentially, to get gold? And that's the best kept secret behind the mysteries, behind the reason why you should even be studying this information. So of course, when you talk about setting up in a gold account or doing things like that, of course it's going to be a lot of bullshit to get through, and then secondly, it's going to be a lot of speculation. People out there with different ideas and opinions on how to do it and things of that nature. So what I'm going to do briefly here is that the brother did pay for this information. However, I'm still going to make it public. Is that I'm going to do my best to give it justice and teach you how to do it, the swiftest way, however, the most efficient way. And first and foremost, it's two ways you could do it with. You got to master the letters in it. So you have G-O-L-D, gold, essentially, which is the element. So your first job is to master the lettering to set up this account. So it's a few ways you could do this. You could either chapter 7 out of the matrix, meaning you got to take about 8 years, essentially, when you just out of the matrix, when you don't use any paperwork, when you don't use your straw man, for anything, and you just essentially, whatever you get comes from your hands and your mind and your body. You got to spend 8 years like that. Or for those people that think they're more trained and efficient, you can try the second method, which is, I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit more risky when it comes to credit, but you can try to essentially set up an account out of Chicago. And this is really why the Prophet over Jarlee went to Chicago to set up an account. And what he did was that he set this account up and put it into a kind of like essentially a religious corporation. Essentially was the straw man for this account. It was the same thing as a straw man. He just used the religious corporation. And in that religious corporation, he incorporated, all the elements of the straw man and everything that he was doing, even other members that he was working with, into like a grand body, essentially, is what he set up. And you can do that too. However, that's a little bit more risky because you're not, in that method, you're not going to have a lot backing you, because you're going to be coming in for what's called capital. From the capital perspective, meaning that most of your resources are going to come from stuff that you probably owe money on, or capital funds like fiat notes and shit like that, and stuff that you haven't paid off, essentially, like fiat, like these fiat notes right here, like these are fiat notes, right, but these are borrowed from different Federal Reserves. So like all of this, when you're talking about incorporating this into your grand body, you're going to be coming with all of that crap in your magic spell and ritual. So the goal is, this is a form of magic, to get out of this thing and to hold gold and essentially use that gold to offset what's called out. And that's going to go into the second letter, which is the O. You have to master the O. And this is why most people measure gold by ounces, because you need a certain amount of ounces. They usually use like what's called the Troy ounce, I think. You need a certain amount of ounces essentially to measure gold. And this, what these ounces do is that they act as a shield blocking you from what's called out, or forces that want to take your energy. the forces that want to take what you've built up, your chi, and drain you and use it for their own gain. So gold is actually a spiritual tool as well, as you can see. It's not just material, it's actually more so spiritual, and it's in you as well. And this is why it's suggested that when you pat out the matrix for that 7 years, this is why it's suggested that you do certain rituals to learn about the gold and minerals and stuff like that that are in you, so that when you come back into this thing, you'll understand who you are, and you'll begin to understand what you're actually worth. You'll begin to measure that. So yeah, you got to master the shield, and then that'll lead you to what's called a lock. There's a lock on gold, which is what the L represents. The L represents a lock on gold. So all the gold out in California is up under what's called L capital. This is part of what's called a land lock. And this gold is actually used for collateral for that Federal Reserve out there in San Francisco. It is. So you got that gold. So this is all paperwork that you have to essentially do. And you have to walk through these rituals in order for you to say that you own gold. So it's not enough for you to just walk around toting a piece. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a piece of gold, I own gold. I know you have to actually claim it. And not only that, you're going to have to renew it, quarterly or yearly or whatever, so that, the value will stay intact, or either that or it's going to affect the value of gold itself. It's going to cause the stock of gold itself to go down, which is going to cause you to become a liability to gold itself, which is why a lot of people get caught up into gold sacrifice rituals and not even realizing it. Like, why people want to rob them for their gold is because you told them something that you haven't done the paperwork. And I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble or anything, it's just the deal. So the L represents the lock, and then lastly you'll go to the D aspect, which is the debt or the door. Because gold is used to block and shield you from all, supposedly shields you from all debt. Meaning that when you own gold, you should have very little debt. So you need that. So that's what the D lettering represents. You have to go and Visa D capital. And Visa all these different capitals, G capital in the out, you have to find several different outs and Visa these different outs. Because there's no O capital in the Federal Reserve System. So you have to find an O. You have to Visa the L and then the D lastly. And the D, again, that's up in Ohio and all. So you have to Visa all of that. Usually when you Visa D, you're going to Visa out anyway, because Ohio is represented by the O. It's represented out because gold was held by outlaws. This all ties into it. It was held by outlaws as a means of a commodity to keep, bounties from being put on them and things of that nature. So you have to move around. So, like, what I'm saying is that, like, you just owning some gold and thinking you're just going to do some paperwork and just get into this thing, it's not that easy. Even you just walking around with it. There's a responsibility that you would essentially have with gold and a contract that you would have with gold in order for you to actually be able to say that you own it, a responsibility to actually creating interest and building stock and commodity through it. And then not only that, then you'd have to go into your Social Security number and begin to learn how to insure the gold. Because remember, your Social Security number has about 9 letters in it. So you have to learn how to insure the gold through your Social Security, which is represented by insurance, which is represented by the letter I, which is the 9th letter of the alphabet, going to 9 digits of your Social Security. And you may be thinking this is all bullshit, but this is your account number. It's real. Your Social Security is your account number. So this is how you go secure it. So you have to secure that by Visa, by paying money in those different regions. Say, for example, your Social Security number is 201, 253, whatever the case may be. You got to find 253 in the zip code format to begin to Visa those numbers. So you'd have to go and find master number 2, which is out of in the Baltimore area, and go do rituals there, because that's what holds your Social Security. It's up under the 2. So you got to Visa the land itself and do rituals like that. And then after you do all of that and set up the account, then you got to watch it and learn how to count it and track it. Essentially, learn how to, essentially manage it. That's because it's a gold account set up off of you, and it's going to be getting managed and flipped. You got to know how to Visa and look at it, and Visa through sports and gaming. So Sounds easy, but it's very, very complex. Very complex and noisy. Sounds like, oh, I can do this, or I can do that. It's very complex, but again, if you secure it and do it properly and correctly, you're talking about millions, if not billions of dollars worth of insurance and interest that you'd be responsible over, and you'd have to essentially have a way to count that. So what I did is I set up a program for my followers and fans and things of that nature. You guys can, join up at any time. It's just essentially you pay a fee. You watch certain videos of mine, and you automatically it'll be this one, and it'll be the one. A couple of videos I did when I was up in Goldsboro. You have to watch those videos, and you pay the fee. When I was up in Goldsboro, you can watch those videos, and it'll automatically sign you up to be a part of your account itself anyway. So I'd have to get those video titles for you in the next couple of episodes. Get you to line a list of videos that you need to watch. So you essentially be able to play your account, and then once you watch this last video here, you'll be banking the goal, because this is a bank account again. So that's how I do it. Live action. It may sound like it's spookism and things of that nature, but it's not. It's very real. Essentially what it is that you're just essentially linking up different land lotteries or different lots of land and putting them together in a collage to form an account which acts as a pyramid, which generates funds and finances for you on a multiple levels. I'm talking about multiplication. You can monetize off of that. There's a lot of ways you can use units and things of that nature to measure that. Live off of it. I'm talking about networking with stores. I mean, it's a lot of ways to get the money back. People wonder, how am I going to get the money back? Food, drugs, whatever you're trying to do. Essentially, you can get the money back that way. So, gambling, I mean, the list goes on. So it's like, how do I make money? I mean, that's a video in and of itself. How do I make money from my after? I got the videos of all of this, but it's going to come with, fees and people asking certain questions, and then that opens up certain doors. It gives me certain keys to go to certain levels, so that's why I charge about like $8 to make a video, essentially, on the topic that you want, and then I publish it. So, shout out to the brother. Thank you for this information, for the question. I'll come up with more as more questions come up, and I'll do a video in the precise area that would benefit you the most. That's how I do it. So, as always, get that money, it's out there, the energy, allocate it correctly. And remember, money is a magical tool. You're responsible for it. It's a part of your spell. So manage it correctly. And what you do and what you attract through the money that you attract, or through the system that you create, is going to create karma for you. So this is going to become a lifestyle for you. So don't never think about quitting and giving up. Let's continue on. So stay vigilant. Hotel. Understand?